So, why are vaccines allowed in USDA certified organic sheep? And more importantly, who benefits? Because it's not the small organic farmer, and it's not the consumer either. Neither one of these people benefit from vaccines in their food. And I had a hard time believing this until I read it for myself. In the national list of allowed and prohibited substances for organic production, if you scroll down to the section for synthetic substances allowed for use in organic livestock production, we see number 4, biologics or vaccines. They're on the allowed list. You can use vaccines in your organic production, or at least the USDA will certify you and let you do it. And they say it's organic, but it's not. And here's how Webster's Dictionary defines organic. Organic means it's from a plant or animal origin without the use of chemicals. Yet vaccines contain chemicals. And here's the chemicals they contain. This is Glandvac. It's made to prevent enterotoxemia or pulpy kidney disease, and also tetanus. And it contains thiomersal, which is a mercury compound. Thiomersal is being used as a preservative to make the vaccine last longer on the store shelf. So what is thiomersal? Thiomersal is an organomercury compound. It's being used as a preservative in vaccines. For vaccines in humans, the Public Health Service, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and even the vaccine manufacturers agree that thiomersal-containing vaccines should be removed as soon as possible. They want to eliminate or reduce as quickly as possible the mercury content of their vaccines. Yet it remains as a preservative for your annual flu vaccines that are a little bit cheaper. Mercury is a cheap preservative in vaccines, that's why you see it. Mercury poisoning is not cheap, and it causes a slew of health problems that a lot of people don't realize how they're getting it because they're being impacted by mercury. Now look at this vaccine. It's also used for pulpy kidney or enterotoxemia, which comes from eating too much grain. And it's also for tetanus, like when you dock the tails or trim their hoofs too much. And what does it have for a preservative? Well, it's phenol. Phenol is what keeps this active, even though it's been sitting on the shelf for a month. Phenol, also known as carbolic acid, is acutely toxic and considered a health hazard. People can be exposed to phenol in a lot of different ways, but one way is through some of the foods they eat. Yeah, foods like where the animal's been vaccinated with phenol. So one place you can be exposed to phenol is by eating vaccinated USDA organic lamb. That's a good place to get some phenol in you. And phenol can cause many, many different types of illnesses that you don't know what's causing it. So it's really something that doesn't need to be in organic food at all. So how do we get around vaccines? Well, in 16 years of raising sheep, I've never once used a vaccine, and all my sheep are healthy. How do I do it? Well, first of all, I don't need a tetanus vaccine because I don't cut on my sheep, which would cause tetanus. I don't dock their tails. I don't castrate them, and I don't trim their hooves. I just leave them alone. That's all I have to do. And I don't need a pulpy kidney or enterotoxemia vaccine because I don't feed grain. They grow entirely on grass, and so they don't have these kinds of problems. That's why I don't have to vaccinate. So here's why grain-fed animals have to be vaccinated. There's something called Clostridium perfringens, and it's every present in nature. It's everywhere. In fact, it's even in your own intestinal tract of humans, vertebrates. All the sheep already have this in them. Now, this enterotoxemia that supposedly requires a vaccine is caused by the absorption of large volumes of toxins produced by bacteria such as Clostridium perfringens. And it creates something called lamb dysentery when it affects lambs that are less than 3 weeks old. Now, they get this because they're feeding them grain when they're only like 2 or 3 weeks old. It's not their mother's milk that's causing the problem. It's grain, that they feed grain way too early. And this is what's causing the enterotoxemia or pulpy kidney disease. It's when an animal is exposed to a rapid increase in dietary carbohydrates that's when the bacteria begin to grow and they create all these toxins. So when they're given all this grain at too early an age, that's what makes them sick. But they want to fatten these lambs up as quickly as possible, so they give them a vaccine to go along with all this added grain food. And when you're fattening up animals with grain, and you're shooting them up full of mercury, and you're shooting them up full of phenol, that's not organic. That's not what I do. I do a lot better than the USDA. And it gets worse, a lot worse. Here's where the USDA is allowing genetically modified vaccines. Now, this is the USDA National Organic Standards Board, and they say, well, we recognize the importance of vaccines. And even though we don't support the use of genetically engineered vaccines in organic agriculture, well, there's some times when even a genetically engineered vaccine that should be excluded is the only vaccine available to prevent a specific disease, then we've got a compromise position at this point. And so you can use a genetically engineered vaccine which should be excluded from organic livestock production as long as there's no commercially available alternatives that are not produced through these genetically modified methods that should be excluded. So what they're telling us is if there's a disease that only a genetically modified vaccine could cure, well, then we're going to let you do that. Well, let me ask you a question. When would they ever create a genetically modified vaccine that was available without genetic modification? I mean, they're going to have this for everything. So every condition, every type of illness that can be solved by genetic engineered vaccines, that's going to be allowed into the organic standards. That's where they're headed with this. And here's an example. This BarberVax vaccine program is a genetically engineered vaccine to supposedly stop the barber pole worm. You just got to use it like every 6 weeks. And Big Pharma loves it because it doesn't work for more than 6 weeks. So you got to come back and do it over and over again to make it work. And it's now being used in Australia, and they're going to vaccinate the heck out of all these animals with their vaccines and still call it organic. I can't believe it. Friends, it's time to leave the system and start growing your own food. Even USDA certified organic food, it's not safe. You need to grow your own or else buy from a chemical-free place. And here's a good example of that. Now, here's the farmer's Storehouse in Sparta, Tennessee. And I've been down there. It's a great place. I'm thinking about selling my sheep through them because they have these sheep standards that exclude all the USDA organic. First of all, they got to be free of vaccinations. And so that right there, that's superior to anything the USDA organic standards have. And their standards are higher than the USDA organic standards. So let's look at them. 100% grass-fed, well, yeah, that's higher than USDA organic. Rotate on pasture, that's higher. No biosolids or pasture fertilizers, well, that's the same as USDA organic. No fluoride or chlorine in the water troughs. Well, that's the first I've heard of this, but yeah, I do the same thing because I don't want that in my sheep either because I don't drink it. My sheep drink rainwater or spring water. No vaccinations, free of vaccinations, yes, much, much higher than USDA organic. No grain finishing, yes, that's much higher. No antibiotics, well, that's the same. And no mRNA or GMO breeds, well, that's definitely higher than the USDA, as it looks like they're going to be allowing just about anything in. So yeah, Farmer's Storehouse in Sparta, Tennessee, I may start selling my sheep down there as cuts because they're just a lot better than USDA organic, and I want people to have really good stuff. So who really benefits from vaccines in USDA organic sheep? Well, let me tell you, it's not you or me. It's not the producer, the small-time producer like myself. It's not the person that eats the food, definitely. Who benefits? Well, first of all, Big Pharma, because they can sell all these vaccines to the animals. And the second group that benefits is Big Ag. Big Ag is pushing these kind of changes to the organic certification process so they can get in on the organic market but not have to do the work like we do. They want to grain finish these animals and push them out and make them as fat as quickly as possible And that's who you're up against. Well, thanks for listening to the video.